What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Mud Bandit Off-Road. Working in the shop today, we're fixing to do a 100-hour service on the Honda Talon. We've got 200 hours on this machine, so this will be our second 100-hour service. Got all our oil and our filters where you can look at the part numbers. Everything you need. This is the DCT filter. This is the engine oil filter. This is the O-rings that you will need and the crush washers. We just got finished servicing the Rubicon and John noticed something very interesting. So in case you were wondering or ever needed to know, the same filter that goes in the Honda Talon is the same that goes in the Rubicon 520. I assume Honda did that to save on various filter sizes, shapes, whatever. But in case you need to know, a little food for thought, it's the same filter number. So if you're having trouble finding the filter, they'll both cross over. It's good to know. This kit I got off of Amazon. This is the same kit as the Pioneer 1000. It is the same engine. These machines are interchangeable with the oil filter setups as well as brake pads. I'm running brass brake pads on this machine because we're always mud riding. We're always in the mud, in the water, in the creeks, in the bogs. So I went with the brass brake pads and they work great. I was going through 3 sets of brake pads a year running the stock brake pads. Went to the brass brake pads, haven't had to change them yet, been running them a little over a year now. We're gonna get started with this oil change. All we've got to do this time is the engine oil filter, DCT filter, and the engine oil. This machine holds just a little over 6 quarts of oil. I'll show you how to do all that. Simple and easy. The sub transmission, had a lot of questions about it. I am running the Lucas gear oil, 7590 gear oil in this unit. I changed it out a little over a year ago. You know, Honda recommends running the engine oil in it, but a sub transmission is a gearbox. I've done a lot of research on it, and a lot of people has went to the Lucas gear oil. I started doing that. A lot smoother shifting, a lot quieter running gearbox sub transmission with the gearbox oil in there. I would recommend that. That's what I've run for a long time and have had 0 issues with it. It's a big improvement over the engine oil. So we'll be doing the oil change, filter change, and also checking our air filter, and I'll show you my setup with the pre-filter that I'm running and my snorkel kit setup. Getting these machines ready, we'll be going to Bogs and Boulders in about a week and a half. We'll be going the weekend of February 25th. We'll be renting a cabin. We'll be up there all weekend long. If y'all happen to be up there, see these 2 machines, give us a holler. You're more than welcome to ride with us, hang out with us. We're gonna have a good time. We're gonna send it as much as we can send it with 32 cryptids. I plan on hopefully within the next year being able to get 6-inch portals and put 38s on this machine, and then we can send it a little bit harder. So enough talking, stay tuned. If you like this content, give me a like. If you hadn't subscribed already, please consider doing so. Let's get started changing oil and servicing this unit. All right, first step, we're under the machine. As you can see right there, this is for your sub transmission. That's your drain. It's labeled on the skid plate, engine oil. That'll be a 17, either use a 17mm ratchet wrench or a shallow well socket. We're going with a shallow well socket. Get it on right there. Break it loose. Get your drain pan where it needs to go. And we're going to drain that engine oil. Engine oil looks good. No metal shavings on the magnet. No water in the oil. All good things. All right, while the oil is draining, we're going to change our crush washer. This kit I got off of Amazon, which I said before, is for the Pioneer or the Talon, doesn't matter, same machine. It's got 2 crush washers. We want the bigger one, which is for the engine oil, because we're not fooling with the Subtran. I've already done that. So we get our crush washer, put it on our drain plug. Like I said before, always check your drain plug. There's a magnet built in right there, and if there's any metal deposits, anything going on with your engine, it'll show up, it'll stick right there to that magnet. So let's install our plug. Our oil is drained, and then we'll continue on with the process. All right, our oil is almost finished draining. We've got our new crush washer. We'll put our plug back in. If you don't have the feel of doing this, I would recommend getting a torque wrench to make sure you do it, torque it right. I've been doing this a long time. I've got a good feel of how tight it needs to be. Just snug it up. You don't need a whole lot of pressure on there. So we got our oil plug in, our oil drained. Now we'll move over to the top side where we will remove our DCT filter as well as our engine oil filter. The sub-transmission has no filter because it is, as I stated before, a gearbox. We're going to start with the DCT. This is a 10mm socket that fits these. We'll go ahead and pop them all loose. Like so. Check and make sure you've got the same exact bolts where you don't get them mixed up, and we do. They're the same size, same length, so we don't have to worry about keeping those separated. Good job, Honda. Keep in mind these are cast aluminum, so you got to be very gentle when you're taking them out. You don't want to hit on them with a hammer or anything like that, because you can break the ears off and then you'd be screwed. All right, we're going to start with a DCT. We're going to grab hold of the ears right there, give it a little twist, pop it right off. Do not lose the little spring. Don't let it fall down in your oil. Make sure you don't lose it. We'll set that over to the side. Same thing with the engine oil. Grab hold of the little ears, give it a little twist. All right, sometimes these engine covers are a little stubborn to get out. Taking a screwdriver very gently is the key word here. Give it a little tap, just like that. Separate it. Then you can come in here and give it a little twist. Come around to the bottom, get in that groove, give it another little twist. Easily work this off. This is cast aluminum, and if you're real rough on it, it will break, and we don't want that to happen. So we do just like that, pull it off, get our spring. We don't want to lose our spring. That's very important. And then with our screwdriver, we can get in here and pull our engine oil filter out. Just like that. And our DCT filter screwdriver works very well for removing those as well. You want to check your filter, look at it, make sure you see no shavings. Everything looks good. Oil looks good. It's a good color for 100 hours on this machine. All right, we're going to replace these O-rings. Yes, you can reuse your O-rings, but while you're here, why not go ahead and replace them. O-rings are cheap. And they're they are like the last line of defense for keeping water out of your oil. So you want to make sure they're good to go. Take our rag, clean our O-ring groove up on both cover caps. As I've said before on previous videos, either get you some Vaseline or some dielectric grease. I happen to have dielectric grease right here handy. And you want to put a thin layer on that O-ring. It helps it to seal and to stay in place. A little goes a long ways. And it helps that O-ring to slide in place when you pop it back in where it goes. Now we'll get our oil filters. That's the engine oil filter and our DCT filter. Make sure you have your springs in place. Get a little bit of oil on your finger. Put a little bit of oil on those rubber gaskets. We'll go back here, get our DCT filter. Slide it in, push it in place. I found it works better taking your spring and sliding it into the filter itself. Then carefully line everything up. Pop it in place. Just like that. Get your 2 bolts. Hold it in because that spring is going to want to pop that cover off. Screw those in hand tight. Get your socket, 10mm socket and ratchet. Snug them up. Don't over tighten them because that is aluminum. You can strip it out. If you don't have a feel for it, like I said before, get you a torque wrench, torque it to specs. All right, now we get our engine oil filter. Do it the same way. Slide it in place. This is the hardest one to do. I recommend getting a screwdriver. Stick it in your spring like that. Get everything lined up. Slide that screwdriver out and it'll keep your spring in place, ready to go. Push everything in, give it a little twist, line it up, and put your bolts in. Snug them down. Don't over tighten them. All right, next step is putting the engine oil in. We'll go up to the air filter bay. That's where the engine oil gets put in at. All right, moving around to the air filter. Take your cover off. Set it to the side. Honda, I love Honda. I love how they seal things up. Pop all these clips off. carefully remove it. Remove your cover. See how nice and clean that is, folks? That's what you want to see. I recommend getting you some cups. These are Mardi Gras cups. We live in Mobile. We go to Mardi Gras. But they're perfect to slide in your air intakes. That way you don't have to worry about anything falling in there and going down on the top side of your engine. Highly, highly recommend doing that. Also, if you don't know, Honda had a recall. They had some issues with these screws that hold this boot on getting loose and the engine sucking the nuts or bolts down in the engine and ruining the engine. There is a recall on that. I haven't took mine in, but I do check them. And I did take me a pair of vice grips and clamp them on the threads on the end to kind of booger up the threads, if you will, to keep that nut from backing off. They've always been tight. No issues with either one of them. But that's something you do need to check, do need to look at, and be aware that there was a recall on that. Now we're going to get our Allen wrench, remove all these bolts to access the air filter. We're going to go through, remove all these bolts. I think this is a little bit of overkill on Honda's behalf, but that's how they did it. This is a 4mm Allen. Make sure you get that little bushing right there that goes with those bolts. Don't lose that. A lot of people have trouble with these air filters. These air filters are not cheap. As soon as I got the machine, I snorkeled it and I added a pre-filter on the inside that I'll be showing you in just a minute, and it has saved my air filter. This is the original air filter. Last time I checked it, it was nice and clean. We'll see how it looks this time. Now we should be able to grab our air filter like so. Get it right out of the way. And there we have it. There is our factory original air filter. Still clean, still in good shape. That's where my pre-filter was rubbing against it a little bit. That's what I'd recommend doing. It's worked well for me with no issues. There's my pre-filter. I've got a zip tie holding it on. We'll pull that off like so. You can see the inside is very dirty. That's what we want. We'll get a bucket of water and some dishwashing liquid, and we'll clean this filter out, clean it up real good, let it dry overnight, put it back on. These are reusable and you'll be good to go. All right, now it's time to put the oil in the machine. Get yourself a good size filter, make it a lot easier and quicker on you. All right, the book says a little over 6 quarts, 6.1 quarts. So we've got 2 gallons of oil. We'll put the first gallon in and then half of the second gallon, and we should be good to go. Be sure you use the right oil. This is GN4, designed for wet clutches. And this is the 10W30, which is recommended for the Talon. All right, that is 4 quarts. We'll put 2 more quarts in, which will put us at 6 quarts. All right, we've got 6 quarts of oil in the machine. We're fixing to crank the machine up, run it a little while, get the engine up to temperature, then check our oil. All right, we have ran the motor, got it up to operating temperatures. Pull the dipstick, wipe it off. Do not screw it in, drop it in, pull it back out, check it. Looks like we are right where we need to be, right on the high mark. It's kind of hard to tell till you run it a little bit, but we've got 6 quarts in there. That's what's recommended. Screw your dipstick back in. You're good to go. All right, the next step is to check our sub-transmission. As you see right there, this is a common issue with these sub-trans. You'll see a light seepage of sub-tran oil coming out of this rear seal going to the rear diff. That is common. I'm not worried about that at all because my level hasn't dropped. All right, as you can see, the sub-trans fluid is good. It's up on the dipstick. And like I said before, this is the Lucas gear oil, 7590 gear oil that I love. That's all I recommend you run in these sub-transmissions. All right, next step, we're gonna check our diffs. We're gonna start on the rear diff. Break it loose. All right, we're gonna take our pinky finger, stick in there. I feel the fluid. Fluid's good. We'll put our plug back in. Go around and check the front. We'll make sure you have no milky colored oil in there. Make sure all your seals are good. Diff fluid look good and clean. Snug it up. Don't over tighten. Well, that is all aluminum. It doesn't take much to strip those out. All right, let's move to the front. Repeat the process. All right, we're fixing to wrap this video up on how to do the whole 100-hour service on your Honda Talon. If you enjoyed the video, smash that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you hadn't already. And be watching for an upcoming video. We'll be at Bogs and Boulders weekend of February 25th, whole weekend. We're gonna send it. We're gonna do a lot of riding, daytime riding, nighttime riding, hanging out. If y'all around, come give us a holler. If you see us on the trail, y'all more than welcome to ride with us. Thank y'all. See y'all on the next one.